Good afternoon, Senators. Welcome. I'm glad to see you're here. First item of business I would like to take up would be House Bill 2166. It's actually a House substitute for House Bill 2166. It's a lot of license plates, and we've got another bill that we need to add to that. If, with your permission, it would include the Love Chloe plate and the $10 fee for the firefighters. And it is House substitute for Senate Bill 69 is where those two are.
I think we're good with that, Mr. Chairman.
I beg your pardon?
We're good with putting that 69 in there.
Okay.
We do have an issue on one of our committee of the whole amendments. I believe they were working on some language. They were going to send it to you.
Yes.
Instead of having an $18 million fiscal note, they were not going to, they were going to correct the language on the allowing the blank plates being replacement and the $40 fee.
I believe the reviser has an amendment to fix that.
I definitely think we need to
Yes.
fix that piece. The amendment was done on the floor to allow an option so you don't have to have the windmill plate. You could have the ad astra as a background on a personalized plate. And some language apparently was a little bit off, and it was going to generate a huge fiscal note. Mr. Chairman, is this the language that Deanne Williams was working on to revenue?
Yes, it is. Would the reviser explain the amendment, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Adam Siebers, Revisor's Office. Yes, this was language consulted with the Division of Vehicles. And what this does, if you look on the back page, essentially what the amendment did was it would allow for personalized plates for both the standard plate and currently there is a personalized plate and the standard plate. The language that was added on the floor would have tracked certain requirements for the standard plate to the personalized plate, which would require, I believe, a 5-year renewal and reissuance. I understand there was some concern from the division of having to issue a renewal every 5 years automatically for these plates. So, and that may have just been inadvertent drafting originally. So there is still the additional fee, $40 fee that will go along, but the language won't just automatically track with the provisions of the standard plate for the personalized plates that currently exist. So a standard plate would just be issued like normal if they want to be personalized with the additional fee without having to follow the additional requirements that a personalized plate currently undergoes.
Senator, does that alleviate the problem?
I think it fixes a problem. My question would be, Adam, do we need to have a shot clock on the rules and regs, or is revenue, or maybe Chairman knows if revenue is ready to adopt? Do we need to put a time limit on the rules and regs, or are we good with just?
That I can't tell you.
I'm not aware of any concern of rules and regs. I mean, needing to issue them or?
Excellent. It looks like it fixes it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Representative Delperdang, you had a question.
Thank you. This is for the reviser, and it's just a curiosity question more than anything, but on the last page here that you pulled out to us, it talks about the one such personalized plate shall be displayed on the rear of the vehicle and at the option of the leasee or owner, maybe on the front. But I know we've got some other bills in this committee that stipulated they would not be on the rear of the vehicle, where they could be possibly personalized. Is that going to be any conflict there?
And just so I'm understanding, are you in subsection?
It says page 14, and it's on line 4 is where it starts. with one such personalized license plate?
That is currently existing law. Standard plates get one. Unfortunately, a lot of this is done through rules and regs, as the chairman alluded to. That is current law, and I'm not adjusting it. And what the other bills that we've talked about on the placement of license plate would have no impact on this bill. I can't really speak exactly on the current status of. I know personal license plates; they generally get 2 of them. And there are certain requirements compared to like a standard plate that just goes on the back. So.
Okay, that's, like I said, it was just a minor question. Thank you.
And I know the committee is, everybody is aware that the Gadsden flag license plate is included in this. Representative Helgerson, did you have some comment?
Can you tell me where that was added? Was that a committee or floor amendment, or how was it added?
It was added in committee.
And was there some discussion on the floor, and was there an attempt to take it out?
There was considerable amount of discussion on the floor on it. There was an attempt to take it out. Discussion revolved around the despicable person that was the artist that designed that flag. He ran a slave port down in southern part of the United States at the time. It's the symbol back then was for slavery and pushing that. And during the Revolutionary War, it became a symbol of independence and freedom. And now people are saying it's a symbol of freedom and gun rights. It's kind of like there's other symbols that have changed over time. The cross used to be a symbol of Roman crucifixion and death by horrific means. Now it's displayed on our churches as a symbol of hope and assurance. There's other symbols that have went the other way. The old good luck symbol is now the swastika is now resembles Nazi. Some symbols went the other way. My vice chair may want to add some since he carried the bill.
I don't know that I have a ton to add. I would just remind everyone in the room who's listening online as well that the Democrat Party was founded by a slave owner, in fact, owned as many as 300 slaves during his lifetime. There's all sorts of things in our past that isn't all that great, but this has come to mean a symbol of, as the chairman said, of gun rights and freedom, and it's also a plate that's used in multiple states currently.
What was the vote to take it out on the floor? Wasn't it 15 to 15?
I don't remember what the vote was. It was pretty tight. Senator Hawk?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to add one thing, and I did not speak up in committee and wish that I would have. I have 2 concerns. Some of those that were raised on the floor about essentially the artist or the author of the flag, and we did have a very good debate on the Senate floor about this. Probably what bothered me more in hindsight, aside from the image of it, was the fact that we added that in committee without having a hearing on this particular flag. And I think one of the concerns that I've brought up over the years, and other people have too, is we really have no formal criteria for what becomes a distinctive license plate. And we did add in here, because there's an implied endorsement for distinctive license plates, and some groups use it as a means for fundraising. So we did add a bill, and I'm not sure whether it's in this or not, which is to at least get the information about what the revenues and expenses were, which I think is a good idea for accountability. But my preference would be, whenever we look at a distinctive license plate, is that we actually have a full hearing in committee. And I'm assuming the House did not do that, and we certainly didn't do that. It was added in the final consideration of the bill. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
If I might continue. The House has taken the position against this at least on 1 or 2 different occasions, maybe even more. That's part of my concern, is that when this has been brought up to the House floor, it's been rejected. And to overdo the entire house, even though it was last year or the previous years, you know, that takes an awful lot for me to agree to. Now, when I look at, and I really hadn't paid a whole lot of attention to it, but when I pulled this up, you know, I look at that the flag was used by many of the protesters in the attack on the U.S. Capitol. I'm going to have a hard time convincing members to support this amendment when they haven't had a chance to have individuals testifying for or against it. And if we want the controversy on this bill, this will bring the controversy.
Sure, I'd also remind the conference committee that the annual event held by the Democrat Party is called Washington Days. Washington, also a slave owner.
Senator Hyde.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I always find conference committees interesting because it becomes difficult to know exactly what team you're on. And I had another bill that my chairman was very agreeable to add this former governor that actually passed in committee but had a little trouble on the Senate floor a couple of times. And we did get it added for a conference committee report, but it was pulled off, I think, for some of the same reasons that perhaps it didn't get fully vetted. I think it was vetted, but it's not a practice that we haven't done before. And I think one of the reasons that we pulled that particular governor's highway designation off was because we felt like it would jeopardize some of the other very agreeable distinctive license plates. So we have done that in the past, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Peterson, what do you guys want to discuss what you want to do, and we'll talk about it over here, and we'll go from there.
We can do that.
Okay. What have you guys come up with that you feel like we could do or should do?
We're thinking that maybe if we would do, like we did on one of the other highway naming bills, do an agree to disagree and see if it would go across your floor. If it doesn't go across your floor, we'll have, we could always come back and strip it out in conference. We're still early in the week.
Okay, hang on a minute. We'll agree to disagree and see what happens on the House floor with it.
You understand what's in it, Adam?
Yeah, I mean, excuse me, at this point, we'd have to do an agree to disagree, get it signed. You have to run it across both chambers. You have to re-meet, then agree to the formal conference committee report at that point.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Chairman, some of the other bills that I've looked at are Senate bills, and do you want to take the lead on those?
Yeah, if we could look at Senate Bill 36. It was the salvage pool bill. Looks like the House did some good work on it. Adding if the Highway Patrol doesn't perform the checks within 5 business days or 10 under certain circumstances upon the request of a qualifying salvage pool for 6 or more VINs, and then they can go ahead with the procedures that are outlined in the bill. And on that bill, we have a Senate Bill 158 that came over to you that put some protections in for our people that are being towed. It wound up becoming the medical marijuana bill. What it basically did, we can get Adam to give us a briefing, but it allowed abandoned vehicles could not be towed out of state unless they had permission of the auto club or the owner or the insurance company. And we added an extra 7 days on that for notification for the sales, and required that there be a multi-state VIN check on vehicles 15 years and older that weren't declared non-repairable. It was brought to us with 10 years, but we looked at the Kelly Blue Book and the drop-off in value really happened at 15 years, so we amended that in committee. Adam, do you want to give a description of 158, what it is? We'd like to put that in with 36 if possible.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, you are correct. Senate Bill 158 has a few provisions generally dealing with towing and abandoned vehicles. The substantive provision, Section 2, would prohibit a towing service provider from towing a vehicle to a location outside the state of Kansas without the consent, usually the driver or the motor club of which the driver is a member, and then another amendment that added the insurance company processing a claim with respect to the vehicle or agent of such insurance company. Essentially, they'd have to give approval before such vehicle would be able to be towed outside the state. Secondarily, the second provision that would require prior to the sale a towed vehicle that cannot be verified by the Division of Vehicles. An interstate search would be required to be performed. As the chairman stated, prior to the bill said 10 years of age, and that was raised to 15 years of age. And lastly, there's a requirement that the notice of an auction be published 7 days prior to the scheduled auction.
Mr. Chairman, we'd heard testimony that on our border areas, there were these vehicles that were being towed, these abandoned vehicles being towed out of state. And then there was only 1 day notice for some of the auctions, even on the ones in state, after the 30 days and the certified letters and all that went out in their normal procedure. And when the sale came up, there was still only a 1 day notice. We thought that, that the extra week made sense and not having them towed out of state. It's my understanding that Missouri just recently passed this also because they didn't like having their vehicles brought over into Kansas and no state VIN check being done for their state. Their abandoned vehicles being sold on the day they get the advertised in the newspaper and the sales that day. It's not a lot of notice. Just provide some protections. I think it would fit in with 36 pretty well. 39-0 on February 9th.
I don't have any questions right now. Let me discuss it with my partners. We were discussing that also. Mr. Chairman, we did discuss it, and we feel like the contents of 158 are a good fit into Senate Bill 36, and we would agree to that.
Excellent. We got one that we can get a conference committee report on. We have several other bills that are some Senate bills that are hanging out there. As you know, House Bill 2007, the KCC bill, was taken to be sent to the Senate Ways and Means. It's my understanding that the Senate President is going to refer a bill over, and we're going to have a meeting at the rail and put 2007 into it to get that going forward, just for your information. We have some bills that kind of got hung out there. Senate Bill 131 was a funeral procession bill. And Senate Bill, I think it's 167, which was the workers move over for the workers bill. They're kind of hanging out there on their lonesome. They would fit together, but we need to create a shell to do that. So what I would propose is that we take Senate Bill 67, which was the ATV bill, Senate Bill 95, which was the odometer disclosure bill, and combine both of those and place them into Senate Bill 95 as a conference committee report. Those passed the Senate 38-1, 38-0, passed the House 99-24, and 95 passed 121-2. On those, Senate Bill 67, you guys changed it to the register. We'd like to maintain that at the statute book. Senate Bill 95, you made technical changes that made it much better to read. So we'd like to use the House version of Senate Bill 95, if that would be agreeable with you.
Okay, that sounds feasible. Let me check.
That 67 goes into 95.
Mr. Chairman, that is just those two bills, 67 and 95, right?
Yes.
Okay.
The underlying bill on 95 went into effect on January 1. And we would like to leave that on January 1 so it helps out the Department of Revenue. They had testified to that. Is that agreeable to leave that section on that and in the statute book for 67? Just those two,
Okay.
placing 67 into 95.
Right.
To statute. And 95, we're taking the House technical changes.
We're good with that, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, there's a conference committee report. Now we have a 67 that could be used for other purposes. We have Senate Bill 131, which is a funeral escort bill. It's very similar to your House Bill 2107. It didn't have penalties in it for the people pulling over. It just allows funeral escorts to direct traffic through intersections and clarifies who has the right of way and says how closely they have to follow each other. And we have another bill out there. It passed the Senate 39-0. We have another bill out there, Senate Bill 167, which didn't make it off the House calendar. It was adding utility vehicles authorized to for the move over. The House did some great work on that bill and made it much better in my mind. And I would like to take the House version of 167 and 131 and place them and empty out the contents of 67 and place them in there. We want the House version of 167, by the way, just.
Just so we're clear, Mr. Chairman, we're taking the contents of 167, we're taking the House version and putting into Senate Bill 67, and we're taking the Senate's position on Senate Bill 131. I believe the only difference between that and the House version was the penalty. Is that correct?
As far as I understand it, it is. We don't have the penalty or the making it illegal not to pull over.
Right.
Adam, do you need to clarify that?
I am aware of the penalty. If there's other extraneous provisions, Chris may have stepped out. Off the top of my head, I can't really speak to them if the minor differences beyond the two.
The Senate version was limited to just the directing them through the traffic control devices, allow vehicles to follow the funeral lead vehicle, giving them the right of way at intersections and require them to follow and have their lights on. And city or county could require law enforcement or other lead vehicle to be along with them. Ours was a lot scaled down version of your 2107.
Representative Delberdang.
You remember why they removed the penalty from 131?
131 did not come with the penalty in it when it came up, when it was introduced to us.
Okay.
The penalty was in the House bill,
Okay.
and they introduced the one that was introduced in the Senate. I don't believe had the penalty.
Okay.
We're okay with that, putting the Senate position of 131 into Senate Bill 67. Is that all we have on that we're going to put in 67?
Yeah, we're getting out 67 and putting that 131 Senate and 167 House.
Right. Okay. I guess we're ready for a CCR report on that too, Mr. Revisor.
Okay, we have somewhere here on my list, Senate Bill 127. It's had a lot of work done onto it. Definitely like the work the House has done to it. The Senate did put the effective on the register, which probably this House statute would probably be better. Oh, sorry, I was wrong. I was reading the wrong line. Like your House version on the waiver. We also had a provision in Senate Bill 100. It was brought to us by Senator Fascadeau. There were some issues with it. We sent it out to the floor. We made amendments that the proponents wanted and thought everything was worked out. And in the courts, and several folks had issues. It's like a balloon. When you push in one spot, it pokes out somewhere else. And so we wound up stripping it down to just the agreed upon portion that was left, which was 62. We amended a portion of it into 127 when it came across the floor. We had a provision in there for the 90 days. I don't know, it may already be in Senate Bill 127, but I'm not for sure. Adam, did you check on that?
Mr. Chairman, it is not in 120. That statutory section is not in Senate Bill 127. That's in Senate Bill 100.
What was left in the substitute for Senate Bill 100 was just the original Section 2 that allowed someone, it removed the extra 90 days of suspension if you were only suspended for failure to pay a traffic citation.
Didn't the 90-day also apply even after you paid it? In other words,
Yes.
okay, because I believe the senator, and I think I almost tend to agree with it, but once the fine was paid, why are we still penalizing them for another 90 days? Because I think that was in there.
That was in there. That's what we're removing.
Okay. That's what
An additional 90 days if it's just for a traffic violation, not for DUIs or any other thing else, just for traffic violations. We heard testimony of people that had an outstanding traffic violation and they went and they had to take their daughter to the hospital, and driving to the hospital, they were in a little bit of a hurry and got pulled over, and got caught driving on suspended and now penalizing them again after they pay their fine. They had an additional 90 days, and that's what we're trying to fix. Courts and law enforcement were both agreeable with this, and appreciate all the parties that worked together to find that piece of the solution.
Well, Mr. Chairman, how are you doing that are you wanting to put,
Added into the House version of Senate Bill 120, or Senate Bill 127.
okay, are you doing the whole Senate Bill 100 or just that portion?
Only the substitute for Senate Bill 100, which is just that section. It's
Okay.
section 2 of the original bill, but we made it a substitute bill. It's just that one provision,
Okay,
the only provision.
all right.
The rest of it was not agreed upon. '27. Substitute.
I'm fine with going back to we're fine with going back to the statute book. And I believe, and we're okay with doing that one provision out of, yes. $165, we're going to do a concur on that. That's what I'm thinking, but let me double check with my, Mr. Chairman, we're fine with the amendment that the Senate put on, and so we would concur on Senate changes to Senate Bill, or House Bill 2167. Yes, I believe we have all of the naming bills are all now into one. And so I will double check, make sure that with my colleagues that we're fine with it, but I believe we are. After much discussion, we're fine with that. We plan to concur.
budget, ours has
Yeah.
growth rate.
You want me to do that on a mic, or
Yeah.
is that good? Okay. So we did, we maintained the bonding language change where bonding is on gross revenue as opposed to net. And then the other piece that we added was that any federal funding as part of a stimulus be approved by the legislature, or if the legislature is out of session, the State Finance Council. Those would be the only two items that were changed, I believe.
Representative Helgerson has a question or two.
You're taking the bond council's recommendation, or did you get the discussion from the bond council?
Sure. So currently, we use net revenue to decide the 18% bonding cap, and that's a moving target, as we're accustomed to, having served on the transportation budget committees. We just move that back to what the bond council, what rating agencies and others use, which is gross. We're really the only ones using net for our calculation. And when we use net, it really isn't the agency's fault. Should we exceed that 18%, it's really us maneuvering the sales tax that causes that change. So we were just taking the advice of both the agency and council to change that to gross instead of net.
Part of the questions came in, and that why is the bond council changing their recommendation after X number of years that we've been using the same bond council? Plus 10 plus. And that was an answer we couldn't get from the agency.
So we originally started with gross. For some reason, it was changed to net in T-Works. I can't tell you why. I wasn't around for that, but prior to that, it was gross, and they lined up, but someone somewhere decided to change that to net in the statute, so we're just switching that back to gross. It makes a lot more sense for predictability moving forward year to year. You'll recall there was a point in time, I think 2015 or 16, when we were up in the 20-21% range, and that was just a function of us creating that issue for KDOT when we took those sales tax dollars out. We're really the ones who decide whether they're complying with the statute or not them. So with having it assigned to gross, they can maintain compliance with the statute based on that gross, because it is a predictable number, as opposed to net, which is unpredictable based on our actions in this room or in the room on the first floor.
What is the financial effect of this?
The financial effect would be that there is an increase in their capability to do some bonding. It's not exorbitant by any means, but it would allow for some additional bonding. You'll notice that I think in FY20, there's a little over 100 million that's being taken out of the sales tax dollars. Then in 22, there's somewhere roughly around 60. I'm just estimating here, so don't go too crazy on me for being off on those numbers, but that amount would be applied towards that 18% as opposed to not being applied towards that 18%.
seems like the chairman of the Transportation Budget Committee had some concerns about this. And I thought it was several percent that it was actually going to change, as the figures that he had showed me.
You looking for an answer to that?
I believe that
I've served with
I
you
don't
so
believe-
long, I know.
I don't believe it's a substantial amount of money. It's, in the grand scheme of things. If we were to sweep the entirety of the sales tax dollars, which happened at one point in time, then yes, it would be a substantial distance between 18% at a fully swept state highway fund of the sales tax dollars and the gross. But at this stage, there are minor differences between the two numbers.
I did see some numbers for the first year, and I believe the first year was fairly sizable. It was like over 2%.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I'll tell you how I feel. And I have some concerns about changing it without any additional information being brought to me. I don't know if anybody else got any, but this was a lengthy debate in the House, as you may have heard. It's had lengthy debate about the bonding that we have and the expenditures that we have. And if this was such a priority issue, or if it's a priority issue, then somebody should bring some information to us and to the chairman of the Budget Committee and explain to us why this matters or doesn't matter. So, I don't think we're going to finish all the things today, but I have some concerns about moving on this until we get additional information.
Let's wait and let's ask for some additional information and then bring it back to conference yet this week. Sure. Okay, let me talk with my constituent. Mr. Chairman, after discussing it with my colleagues, we agree with the amendments, the two amendments that you put onto it, onto House Bill 2245. And so we would turn it in to concur. It's going to take me a minute to look through. I'm sorry. might ask the reviser or the chairman, either one. We had House Bill 2007, and that was some updates on the KCC. Have we got that anyplace? Oh, you've got a bill coming, right? Or a shell coming to put it in?
The president's office assured me that they're going to give me a bill that I can place that in at a meeting at the rail, and we have a spot to place that. The other bill that's out there is the electric bicycle bill. I just don't know that we had a place for it. I don't know it's made it above the line on your side or what the status was on that.
It was below the line.
I don't think we have anything where it would fit the 101 bicycle bill.
That one's almost a standalone bill. It's got so many just unique provisions to itself that I'm not sure it would fit with anything else.
They have to take care of that next year. Mr. Chairman, we are going to have to, meet again anyway. The highway naming bill, we do have Senate Bill 26 that we could open up and use as a shell to put the bicycle in if you'd be considerate, or in case something goes awry on 2007 on the Senate side. Because Bud Burke got included in the other one, and that one had passed the House 123 to nothing and the Senate 39 to nothing.
We don't have any, we really don't have a problem if we could move that electric bicycle bill into, I can't, what did you tell me it was, Adam? 26. That's fine. We can wait on that. And we're going to have to meet again anyway, because we're going to be meeting on, what was it, 2201? I don't think there's anything else that we need to do at this point. Do you, Mr. Chairman?
I think we're good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate everybody's patience, and thank you very much.
You can request the information from the Department of Transportation on the bonding and to get the information for that.
Yes, I am.
Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Reviser, Mr. Sieber?
I did have, since we're kind of separated, I did have Chris prepare the agree to disagree, since that was already, while he was downstairs and he brought it up to me. So I do have that ready for signature since we're already all in the same room, and can get that done while we're here
Perfect.
during the meeting though.
Okay. Ms. Shelley, you have anything else to add? Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Our meeting is adjourned, and we'll get another one called when we get some more information. And please let me know when you do get something out of judiciary to put that 2007 in. Yes, thank you.